obviously there's going to be, some friction with my mom and Summer and whoever else believed that Lori was innocent all this time through all this stuff, and now they want everything to go away, which I was suffering the whole time trying to tell people. So now my family, they're feeling a lot more like I was feeling when I was trying to tell people that we needed to do something.
Hey gang, welcome to the podcast. We are your hosts, Lindsay and Kimberly. Kimberly, how are you?
Just living the dream. How are you?
I'm delightful. So, gang, delightful. So you are probably clicking on this video to listen to our conversation with Lori Vallow Daybell's brother, Adam Cox, and their uncle Rex Connor, the hosts of the Silver Linings podcast. I almost said Jury Duty podcast.
You gave her the Daybell too. Some people are still not giving that to her.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give it to her because she deserves it, right? I don't think she deserves the Vallow. So we are going to talk to them about a lot of different things. You guys know, if you are returning customers of ours, that we are friends with Adam and Rex. If you haven't checked out their podcast, Silver Linings Podcast, whatever we don't talk to them about, go to their channel. They have answered all kinds of questions having to do with this case. Like anything and everything you can think of, they've spoken about on that podcast.
And sometimes we pop up like, where's Waldo?
Yeah, sometimes you might see us somewhere. Probably will. Like I said, we're buddies, ride or dies. Anyways, without further ado, my friends, Rex Connor and Adam Cox, take it away.
Make good choices.
It's okay. We're all together now at long last.
Yeah. So, Silver Linings Podcast. So, we all met on Silver Linings Podcast, but for those of us who don't really know what Silver Linings Podcast is about, what is the elevator pitch for Silver Linings Podcast?
The name of the podcast started out from one of our optimists, the people that participate in the podcast, saying we need silver linings to this tragic story. So we named it Tylee and JJ's Silver Lining Podcast. And then as the first trial was done and we had our first taste of justice for those victims, and the next trial was going to be about them and Tammy, we shortened the name to Silver Linings Podcast, not to forget Tylee and JJ. We still honor them very much, but we weren't talking about them every podcast. Some people didn't see the connection. So the idea is to find the many positive factors that are going to be around a horrific, dark tragedy like the murder of Tylee, JJ, Tammy, Charles. And there are a lot of silver linings. None of the silver linings bring back the victims, but finding silver linings, we feel, is a good way to honor their memories. The fact that the four of us are together here and have been since that podcast started is one of the silver linings for me.
Me too.
Yeah, another thing about silver linings is, as we started the podcast, at first, you don't really realize how many things have happened to other people. Like when I start thinking about my family and my situation and all that, it's like, well, it can't get any worse. And then when Rex and I opened up our podcast to a lot of optimist listeners and watchers and viewers that came on to talk about their own lives and their own situations, there were some situations and some lives that, shocked me, that how did these people make it through that? Which then helps me, I guess me and Rex sharing our story helped other people. That helped me. And then it turns into this whole big snowball of people feeling like it's safe, that they can, people that have had trauma in their life and tragedies in their life, that they can find a place where they can come and they can be like, oh, everybody's experienced something. I feel like I can heal. And for me, silver lining is a lot of healing. Listening to other people's story has really helped me heal from my own situation. Rex had Rex had his therapist on one time, and he kind of tricked me into doing a 30-minute therapy online. But yeah, so I mean, for me, doing therapy, Rex and I wrote that book, and writing things has been a huge therapy for me. Also, obviously, talking about certain things and having conversations with people, a lot of those things are good therapy. I know people like, aren't you sick of talking about it? There's times where I'm sick of talking about it, but there's also times where when I do talk about it, I feel better that I'm getting more things off my chest instead of sitting on somebody's couch and having them try to fix me. If that's how it works, I don't know how therapy works.
Well, do you feel like talking about it in this podcast has helped you process what's happened?
Yeah, I'm sure it has. Processing it, I don't even know. I think time has to be the main for me. Time is like the big thing for me because I'm way different now than I was 4 or 5 years ago when all this was going down. And so I think time helps people heal too, and helps people process.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Rex?
Definitely processing has helped me. I've changed my opinion in several related areas to the case, to what happened to Ty and JJ, to the guilt of the evil perpetrators of this tragedy. And that was all as a result of all the processing that we've done. Questions people ask, people's different opinions, listening to different viewpoints. That's all part of it and very therapeutic.
Let's talk about healing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, were you shocked that it has taken so much time, or that like you were saying earlier, like your opinions have changed on certain things? Like, what is something that you are kind of shocked by?
I have mine, Adam, if you don't mind me going first. I'm I'm surprised that once I processed it and found out there are some very simple fundamentals of healing that I had never heard anyone talk about, and they were essential and a big part of the amount of healing I've done. For example, it never dawned on me that every individual would need to establish their own definition of healing. As I started into the process and I thought, okay, I need to heal. Heal from what? What does that mean? What does that look like? No one has a definition of what that means, and
Mm-hmm.
you need to set your own. Another foundation is the very first step, and the biggest part of healing is to follow your own internal guidance. I know you've heard that from me before,
Just
but
one.
that's how you heal. That's the best healing process. That will tell you if you need to go to a therapist, if you need to do equine
Right.
therapy, if you need to, whatever you need to do, you have your own internal guidance system. So that's just two very simple examples of where you get started and what needs to happen there. I'd never realized that before, and that was a big surprise to me.
Well, we know I don't do math, but I hear your voice in my navigation.
Very good.
Yeah, I need Rex's inside to teach me some things. For the word shocking, Lindsay, Rex and I have talked about this on the podcast a ton. Really, there's nothing left that can shock me, including my healing. Um, and, I thought I was in a really, really good place. Like, how long ago? Maybe up to like 4 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. And then I realized after talking to the investigator that's working for Lori, he had called me. And after that phone call, I realized I wasn't as good as I should be. Like it all just came out again. And I thought I went through all this already and I was fine. And then now it's all brought up all these other things, especially when he gets all these dates wrong and information wrong. And it's just everything like that just keeps on, making me um, angry and other things that I probably have to deal with that I've already thought I dealt with. So that's probably the thing that shocked me the most is I thought, man, I thought I was doing great until that incident happened. I was like, I got some work to do.
Well, healing doesn't have an expiration date either, though. I think anyone that's had to heal from something knows that you can be whole in some way again, but there's always the scab, and that's perfectly human. And sometimes the scab just gets picked a little bit and you don't realize, oh, that still hurts a little bit. So, congratulations, you're a human. You're doing okay.
That's why you came to the podcast. We're doing a human check.
So,
We like that.
Yeah.
right,
Good.
we're doing a wellness check.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that Charles's trial, Brandon's trial, do you think that will help your healing, or do you think it might force you to reevaluate your healing a little bit more?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea what to expect. At first, I thought, oh, I'm fine with it. But then after going through all that, depending on what Lori does in court, depending on what actually happens, I guess I'm going to have to figure out on the fly how to control my thoughts or control my feelings, I guess. Because I feel like if Lori gets up there and starts in and saying stuff that I'm going to snap, and I hope I don't.
I hope you don't too. What? What?
Hey, I think that it would be very therapeutic to be able to snap.
Right. And then they're like, oh, he's just like her. He's crazy. No matter what, I'm going to be judged. Whatever I say, I like everything. I feel like I'm under a microscope. If I say the right thing, the wrong thing, somebody's going to have something to say.
Well, do you think once you get through like both of these trials, do you think you're going to feel like a sense of relief after all of that's done?
De- Definitely. It'll
Mm-hmm.
definitely be a relief. Then we can
Yes.
choose if we ever want to talk about it or deal
Yes.
with it again.
Do you think you'll
Yeah.
still do the podcast after?
Um, Unknown. I don't know why we would, but I don't know why we've carried on after our first 10 episodes. I mean,
The people demanded it.
there's so many silver linings to it. The community that we collectively have created is so positive. It's such a silver lining. Um, but when we started, we thought, okay, we want input to write the book, and we'll share family perspective. We should be able to accomplish that in 10 episodes, and we did.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Didn't anticipate what grew out of it. So we don't know what will happen after, and maybe I shouldn't speak for you, Adam. I don't know what will happen after, the trials are over. As far as do people need us in the podcast?
Well, we have, Kimberly and Lindsay are part of those first 10 podcasts. Like they're part of us meeting, us talking, us, those whole things. And then the other thing I was mentioning with this podcast is, once it's over, I feel like there's so many people who have their own quote unquote Lori story, which probably not close to that, but everybody has something. So I feel like the Silver Lining podcast can be a very positive place for a lot of people. There's lonely people, there's people who have been through a ton, there's people who have never told their story in 40 years and they come on our podcast and feel comfortable telling it and said afterwards they feel a million times better. So, if Rex and I continue this podcast, it will be less about us and less about Lori's situation and more about other people's stories. And let's dive into there and try to help other people since everybody has helped us go through this therapy. And we could just take turns. I'm sure there's enough people in the world to be able to come on a podcast and probably be healed or feel like they can be healed through, at least partially doing this.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there would be a hole. And I feel like the optimists, they need the touch point from time to time because you're sort of the nucleus of that community.
Well, and I think people feel safe because you guys come from a place of empathy and sympathy. I know you guys talk about like non-judgmental, which you both very much are the last people to judge anyone. But I think people feel so comfortable because you guys do make others feel like when they're sharing their story or whatever they're going through, that they are getting feedback that is from a place of love and understanding, and that they don't feel judged. And it's brought people together who need that. They need that in their lives. So I think it is needed. And I don't want to tell you to keep doing the podcast, but keep doing the podcast.
Or we could do a podcast, or we could do a podcast about food. Apparently, when I was eating because I was out of time last podcast. People
Great.
were like, what's your potato salad recipe?
Because eating last time went over so well.
And I did bring snacks tonight.
I would love a food podcast. I'd watch that.
Just in case.
So what is in a Congo bar?
Congo.
Basically the same ingredients as a chocolate chip cookie. It's all brown sugar, no white sugar, a few differences between the two, but it's basically the same. For everyone who's a cookie dough lover, Congo, I'm one, and I've eaten all kinds of dough. Congo
Do you
bar
eat it
dough is
raw?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In our family, when I make Congo bars, we eat the dough and bake whatever's left.
That's fair.
I'm firmly on the eat the raw cookie dough side of the
Yeah.
fence, but it's controversial apparently. I didn't know that. There's a lot of people that feel like you should know. I'm like, if I'm gonna die from a foodborne illness, I hope it's eating raw cookie dough.
Yeah, just don't use eggs that have salmonella, and you're good.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I don't know if I could use eggs for anything, or they're like $14 a dozen. So
Yeah. But I wanted to ask too, being in the community that you're in, the true crime community, and you guys have been on other podcasts and done interviews with other people and met a lot of people along the way. Who do you think you've learned the most from? Anything? Does someone come to mind that you're like, "Oh, I really enjoyed this conversation," or "I felt really comfortable talking to this person," or "I made a friend here that's now super important to me"?
Wow, there's so many. I don't have one that I would put above the others.
You don't have to say me.
Well, I was going to say you two have definitely been a big influence to us. We've all learned a lot from you.
and likewise.
Mm-hmm.
And but as far as influencing us, as far as being comfortable on a podcast, just talking to people, everyone, we haven't had any big bad guests that I remember. We learned so much from our therapists that we brought on, Ben, Dr. Denham, other people that did. We had a guest that did the equine therapy and the
You guys
goat
did goat
yoga.
yoga. Yeah.
As far as learning, since you start out by saying true crime
Mm-hmm.
and being in the true crime world, the people, we learned a lot at the very beginning when we were doing things with Lauren Matthias.
Mm.
Gigi McElvey
Mhm.
is still with us. We still work with her on things, talk with her. And they were so good to us in getting us started and giving us insight when we didn't know what we're doing early.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't know what we're doing late. But back when
At
we
least
didn't
you're
know what we're doing
consistent.
early, they helped us. They helped us quite a bit, and with their interviews of us, really got us started, in the podcast world.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to give props to them, I think.
I remember for me, and we can't say his name. I don't remember his name anyways, but Rex and I are always trying to piece things together. And there's been certain things that Rex and I had several conversations about all kinds of things. Alex's death. Are we both on the same page of how Alex died? Let's talk it through. What about this? What about that? Was there people involved with Tylee and JJ's killings? what went on. And Rex and I had a chance to talk to somebody off the record, and somebody who was close to the situation, which then after that conversation, I was at first I was like, Rex was really into, he thinks that there is like some kind of a seance and there's people involved. And I was like, that I don't see that happening. After talking to him and then reevaluating and re-talking to Rex, I was like, I'm more on that side now than I was, before. So there's things that we've learned or things that but just by talking to people, that have changed some of my perspectives on what's possible. Is like we say on the podcast, anything and everything is possible and nothing would shock us. But trying to piece it together, we want so many answers. I want so many answers to things that we're probably never going to get. So we just really try to open up a lot of doors to see what the possibilities were for certain things, and where my mind was like shut on a lot of things, like what Rex would think. And I was like, well, I don't think that at all. Then after talking to other people and then us talking through it again, then it makes sense. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And of course, I like doing things with common sense. So, yeah, that really changed my thoughts on the whole, Lori and Chad and more people involved in the killing. If that happened, I was more open to that after talking to that guy.
Do you think if Chad were to ever reach out to you, do you think you'd want to talk to him? And this goes to each of you.
If he reached out to me, yeah, I'd want to talk with him and find out what the heck do you want to talk to me about.
Is your internal guidance system broken, sir?
I mean,
Adam, you'd want to ask him questions?
Yeah.
Would you believe anything he would say, though?
Yeah, I would ask him. I would like to ask him all kinds of questions. Yeah, I don't know what he would say and what I would believe of what he would say. It's the same with Lori. I don't know what I would believe that she said.
So last time we talked about Lori, Adam, you were pretty convinced that she wasn't going to do much at this trial, and Rex and I were like, I don't know. And now we've seen her get a little zesty in lawyer Lori mode. Do you think that she's going to be able to sustain that during a trial? It's one thing when it's you, a judge, nobody's really judging you, so to speak, in those moments, but it could be very different. What, like a week from now?
Yeah, I was completely wrong about that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how far she's going to go with it, to be honest. Who knows what if she's going to cross-examine, if she's going to try to get her own witnesses up there. It's just probably whatever she does is going to be a disaster. Examine if she's going to try to get her own witnesses up there. It's just probably whatever she does is going to be a disaster.
Are you on her witness list or the state's?
Well, I'm going to testify for the prosecution, but she put me on her list as well. But I don't think the people she put on her list, I don't think she really is going to have anybody try to testify, because nobody that she has on the list knows anything about Charles's death.
Yeah, she had Nate Eaton on there. He's like, no, ma'am, no.
You think she's mad at Nate Eaton for flying to Hawaii and keeping this whole thing going? Because without Nate Eaton, none of this really would have got any traction. They were getting away with everything.
That ship has long sailed, so I don't know why she put him on there.
Maybe because he was the one that started this, went for the story, flew to Hawaii on his own, found her, videoed her, put her on TV, like all those things. Maybe her and Chad thought they were getting away with it. One of my theories is I think that Chad convinced Lori, or Lori convinced Chad, or whatever it is, that the Lord was going to be back before they found the kids, that there was going to be this apocalypse, all kinds of crazy stuff was going to happen. No one's even going to know that the kids were missing. And they believed that the Lord was coming back, and they were going to Hawaii and waiting for that to happen. That's what I truly believe. And then when it didn't happen, it's, every time Lori predicted the end of the world or whatever it was, and then she got called out on it, she goes, no, it didn't happen because of this or because of this or because of this. And, everybody's just like, okay. So I think that I really believe that that's my belief of why they went to Hawaii. They thought the Lord was coming. They were going to be there. that no one would even know about the kids because of that. I mean, that's what I think, but I could be, again, I could be completely wrong.
I think you're right because they were pretty brazenly silent. The silence was deafening. They had to have figured just keep a lid on it because soon enough it's not going to matter.
Wasn't there a date that they predicted, like the public knows like what date they said the Lord was coming? I don't know. I don't even know when they were caught. I don't know the time frame of any of that. So
I never heard the date from them. A lot of people said they said July 20th or July 22nd,
I think
of that year.
yeah, I think it was in a text or an email or something like that. That's what he saw in a vision or something to that effect.
So, Adam, there's a pretty good timeline in a book I read, Lori's Lies and Family
February
Ties.
20th.
I was just
Okay,
gonna
so
say
none of
that.
makes sense to me then.
You and I could each, you and
Busted.
I could each do well by having a copy of that handy and referring to it.
We'll put a link to that book below in the
that.
description too.
I
Because
think
it's a
I have
great
a
read.
signed copy around here somewhere. If you
I
need it,
do
I'll send
too.
it back to you.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ken Spence, for that timeline. You did a great job with it and
Yeah.
let us use it in the book.
Oh, I was just going to ask if either of you anticipated seeing Charles's kids at the trial and if you have any contact with them.
Last time I saw them was at Lori and Charles' house, probably in 2018. So last time I saw him, talked to him, and that I only saw him on 2 occasions. So it's not like we knew each other well or anything. I would love to see him. Any of Charles' family.
Mm-hmm.
I anticipate giving Kay and Larry a big hug like I do every time I see them and thanking them once again, thanking the law enforcement people. That's part of the reason I go is just for the whole group of people there that have become such a family.
Did you ever meet Charles's kids?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I had kind of spoken to Rex about this, Adam, but through this, I've become, we'll say friends with Gabby Petito's mom, Nicole. And yeah, she's the sweetest lady. She actually the Gabby Petito Foundation has a YouTube page, and they have some great stories and resources and things on that page. So if you ever feel so inclined, go over there and look at it. But through all of her interviews and everything that they've gone through, and I'm gonna summarize all of this, but instead of using the term justice, she uses the term resolution because of how this has affected her, all of Gabby's friends, family, the time that's been taken away, the emotion. Justice isn't the right word for what has happened. And to have like justice for Gabby just never felt right to her. So now she just calls it a resolution. And I just thought that was such an interesting word to use because, like I was telling Rex, sometimes in different things in life, you can't really put a word to an emotion that you're feeling. And I think that's a really good word to put to how you view that situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with that 100% because every time someone says, I want justice for so and so or justice for this, it's just not justice. When somebody's murdered or killed, there's no justice because that person can never come back to live. So there's no, to me, there is no justice. Yeah, is there a resolution? Is there consequences? Are there all those things? Yes, 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 yes.
Right.
But to put somebody behind bars is not going to bring back, somebody's life. And that's not justice. Justice would be bring that person back to life, let them live their life, and that just can't happen like that. But I wish it would. Then that justice would even out. So justice to me is like when you have that justice scale, and it's like this: when somebody's murdered, they're off the scale. Somebody goes to jail, they're still here. They're still alive. Even if they die, they're still here. But they took away somebody's life. So I don't like the word justice at all.
Rex, with your infinite wisdom, what do you think about all that?
Um, I use the word justice because I don't have a better word for a situation like Charles. where they, um, and it doesn't even work with Charles because the killer's dead. So let's go back to Tylee and JJ. Justice meaning because we just aren't harsh enough to say, I want their killer punished. I want to get the maximum punishment available. So we use the word justice because it floats better in our culture. Okay, but really, what I want is for them to get as much punishment and to have a miserable a life as can be experienced in this life. If we could put them in a Turkish prison, if we can put them in a prison that's worse than the one they're in, I would want that for what they did.
Never the gulag.
What's bad about a Turkish prison? What have you heard?
I don't know, but in the movies, they always use that as the worst possible scenario. And so that's what I want, but I don't want to be crass enough to say I want him to get the maximum punishment available. But that's what I mean when I'm using the word justice. I just want they took a life away that should be here with us still. I want them to pay as much as they can in this life. Of course, I believe in the ultimate justice coming when the ultimate judge um, makes his judgment. But still, as a human in this life, in this culture, I still want him to have to pay something.
No, I wanted to see what you guys had thought about that. I just thought it was really interesting because I mean, I am not in this situation. I don't claim to be in this situation, but just her description of resolution, I was like, I like that.
I like that it's the same root word as resolve, and it resolves the situation for us in as much as it can be resolved in this life.
Mm-hmm.
Having a trial, having a sentencing, we can get some resolution, say, okay, that's as resolved as it's going to get. Maybe gives us another one of those euphemisms that's probably not accurate. Maybe it gives us closure that way.
Yeah. Are you glad that there's cameras in the courtroom? Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any difference to me. None.
Yeah. To me, the courtroom is a sideshow. Lori is a sideshow. And I like when we can not talk about Lori. I don't mind talking about it because that's the topic. Lori's, representing herself and what a show. That's the sideshow. I want resolution for Charles being taken away in such a evil, despicable manner. Entirely JJ Tammy. That's what I want. I don't care what gets us there. I don't care about the trial. I don't care about Lori having her show. I care about the people she's hurting doing it. But as far as the details of how it comes about, I I don't want to focus on that.
I think I'm not excited. That's a weird word choice, but I'm invigorated by cameras being in the courtroom because you can't Google Charles Vallow without Lori popping up. And he's sort of, in a sense, been sort of patiently waiting in the background for this component. It's frustrating that people don't talk as much about Charles and Brandon, but Charles was probably, by some divine intervention, one of the few speed bumps that slowed her down, thankfully. But the sacrifice there was that he lost his life. And it's really strange to me that I wasn't able to do as much research as I wanted to understand Charles Vallow because every Google result is Lori. They're always tied together. So being able to start to finish in this trial, get more of the context and get more information, even just about him, to me feels good. I would be really disappointed if the transparency of cameras weren't there because I already feel like I don't know so much about him. People connect so much to Tylee and JJ. You can't help that. They were innocent kids. And I feel like Charles sometimes, in the general sense, the public forgets about him sometimes. And I'm glad that this is finally arriving so that his family and his sons can get the resolution that they need as well, because they also have been patiently waiting and it's here now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wanted to ask because I was watching the end of a court case that was televised, and It was the wife of a man that had been killed, and she was doing an interview, and she was like, I don't want cameras in the courtroom. I never wanted cameras in the courtroom because I just wanted to go through this process on my own. I didn't want anyone to watch this circus. I didn't want anyone to know the ins and outs. I just wanted to do this in private and be able to process and move on. And I just thought that was an interesting point of view from someone that's like in that situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and our family, and Adam can comment on this too. The most commonly shared sentiment about this whole thing is members of our family just wish it would go away. And Adam and Rex, you doing the podcast just brings people from the outside world that didn't know any of these people into our lives.
Yeah.
Let's let them just go away. And I think that's a common way for a lot of people to handle things, not the way Adam and I handle it, obviously. Is that your experience, Adam?
Oh yeah. I think, we've talked about it that, doing the podcast and talking about the situation and well, because me and Rex we were on a different side, if you will, of their sides or thought processes of how this handled and all that. We're on different sides than the rest of the family. So obviously Rex and I's vision is this and everybody else's vision is this. Obviously there's going to be, some friction and, with my mom and Summer and whoever else believed, that Lori was innocent all this time through all this stuff. And me and Rex didn't. And now, during this whole time, then they get egg on their face and they want everything to go away, which I was suffering the whole time trying to tell people this whole time. So now my family, they're feeling a lot more like I was feeling when I was trying to tell people that we needed to do something and they, shush me away. Well, now they're having to deal with a lot more stuff.
Adam, have you decided which tuxedo you're wearing to court?
The one from Dumb and Dumber, the one that Harry and Lloyd, well, I don't know which.
I was thinking Step Brothers. You go in with your.
I want you to go in like Mr. Peanut with the top hat,
the cane.
Yeah.
I have a cane you can borrow. I'll send it to you. It's cheetah print because if I need a mobility aid, she's got to be sassy.
And you need to talk with like a weird accent or something. Yeah.
Rex said I could go business casual.
Hey, if she wants a sideshow she will get.
I can't do anything out of the normal. If I do something out of the normal, like, oh, here we go with this family.
I don't think that exists.
I'm supposed to be the one in the family I'm supposed to be one in the family that's normal. Well, that's kind of scary if I'm the normal one in our family.
No, we don't claim any normalcy. That's too high of a bar to live up to.
Well, thank you for coming and talking to us.
Yes.
Even though I don't know how to tell time or time zones or math or.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, all in all, just know, Adam, I'm proud of you. You're a champ, my friend. Well, because it's a lot. All of this is a lot, and to be able to like talk about family stuff, shenanigans on the internet, it's hard. And let me say something too. It makes me really upset when people who have never spoken to either one of you or don't really know you say that they are an expert on your family.
Yeah.
It makes me
mad when people that do know you say they're an expert on
so angry. So angry. I have to like call Kimberly and she has to talk me off the edge. Like they don't know but it just really makes me upset. And I can't imagine how it makes the two of you upset.
Well, Lindsay, lately I've been flying off the handle like, Lindsay, I don't like this. And she's like, the sun's getting real low.
The good thing about this is I don't know anything because I don't read or watch anything except for once in a while I'll read comments on ours, and we pretty much got rid of all the trolls on our things, so we don't really have any comments like that. Once in a while, and if I do read a comment, I told Rex, I was like, I had to respond to this and call this person an idiot. I don't know who they are, but there's sometimes I got to do that, but for the most part, you guys are the true crimers. You guys are into the stories. You're into all the details. Like, I don't know what people are saying about me or
Oh,
my family unless it's on a YouTube comment that I read after me and Rex do a podcast. That's it. That's really all I know.
Yeah, you two having our backs, you two and other people, of course, in the community, but a lot of it's you two having our backs really keeps a lot of that off of us, even if we happen to see the comments.
No. Well, just know that we have y'all's backs and we are on Team Rex and Team Adam always.
Thank you. We love that. We love you too.
well, we love you,
We love
and hopefully we'll talk to you both again soon.
Okay, we'll do it.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.
Start over. We're so stupid.
So extra.
We have no business being on the internet.